Thank you for joining us on another episode of Gist Nigeria from the BBC and Channels Television. And here we track stories online in the news and dissect them. I am Wali Fakile. Now to our top story. Nigeria's economy showed signs of stability in 2025. Inflation slowed, the naira steadied, and officials called it progress. But what does this really mean for everyday Nigerians? In this report, Gist Nigeria's Mercy Frank looks beyond the numbers to see whether economic stability has been felt on the streets.
In 2025, Nigeria's economy stopped sliding. Inflation slowed, the naira steadied. Economists call it stability.
This administration has delivered what I would say significant macroeconomic stabilization.
At 3.8 compared to what we thought was the projected rate of growth, it's still for us suboptimal growth.
Despite the challenges that Nigerian entrepreneurs or even the ecosystem experiences, Nigerian MSMEs and entrepreneurs remain optimistic.
Nigeria, home to over 200 million people, ranks among Africa's top 3 economies with a GDP of about $334 billion, alongside South Africa at $443 billion and Egypt at nearly $400 billion. In recent years, the country has had a radical economic overhaul that in the immediate pushed inflation to a 30-year high. Fast forward to 2026, and the official record shows those painful reforms are finally beginning to steady the ship.
Our task is now to consolidate those gains so that stability becomes prosperity, and of course, prosperity becomes shared prosperity, where millions are lifted out of poverty.
In December 2024, inflation peaked at a staggering 34.8%. 12 months later, that figure has more than halved, resting at 15.5%. And for the first time in years, some food prices have dipped. Statistics indicate that the storm has passed for the spreadsheets in Abuja. But is this the same for everyday Nigerians?
Looking at activities of January last year and this year, I think things are balanced. There wasn't much of increment in most of all these basic amenities.
Food is cheaper than last year, January. Even the economy of fuel, the prices of fuel is lower than last year, January.
We cannot buy cement, we cannot build house. House rent we cannot pay. That's why we get place where you go buy stick, 5,000. You work for one plank, but now it's 7,000 naira.
How much is an average Nigerian earning?
To understand what economic stability really means in practice, Gist Nigeria followed 3 Nigerians, each at a different stage of life, to see how the economy is shaping their reality as 2026 begins. Musa Adamu is a 4th-year polytechnic student, juggling classes and daily expenses in northwestern Nigeria's Kaduna state.
You can wake up early in the morning, not having money for maybe even breakfast, talk less of the transport to come to school.
585 kilometers away in southeastern Anambra State, 25-year-old Emanuela Ibekwe is still unemployed 1 year after graduation.
You'll be getting a work of 20,000, 30,000, at least, at most 50,000. And even the cost of transportation, if you calculate both the transport, your feeding, and most of your expenses, is usually more than the salary.
In Uyo, capital of southern Akwa Ibom State, Yenime Sunday, an auto mechanic and father of 3, says the stability is reflecting in his own income.
As last year, it's very hard for me to feed my family based on the way things are high, food in the market, everything, lack of cash. So, but as this 2026, I've seen a lot of changing. Then I can feed my family, they can eat like 3 times a day. Then I have some things to do, even the school fees, I can have some money to do some other things.
Musa, Emanuela, and Nyenime's stories indicate they are seeking to experience the stability the government claims it has delivered. The Nigeria Economic Summit Group, NESG, a non-profit, private sector-led think tank, explains why there is some disconnect.
Macroeconomic growth is moving, but moving tepidly, not yet at the rate of growth that is required to lift Nigerians out of poverty at scale and create jobs at scale.
For the Nigerian economy to deliver on the goods, the NESG says there are 3 stages it must go through.
So phase 1 is stabilization, phase 2 is consolidation, phase 3 is acceleration. We are just transitioning at the inflection point of stabilization to consolidation, but consolidation reforms now require that macro gains translate into micro impacts where people can feel them.
This means if 2025 was about stopping the bleeding, the NESG 2026 Outlook frames this year as the bridge to acceleration.
Consolidation is what is possible in 2026. Now, consolidation means that your macroeconomic anchoring allows you to now attract investments into key sectors.
There's a point now to help the farmers because prices have come below, in some cases, their costs, and that is being addressed very, very urgently in order to ensure that we encourage continued investment in food production.
You already know that farmers year in, year out rely on external funding like loans to get their inputs and to pay their laborers to grow this food. So the question then is, what is the long-term impact of this drop in food price, not just from the consumer's point of view, but on the entire food system?
In a country where food accounts for more than half of what many families spend, even small price changes can determine whether stability is felt or ignored.
The job is to ensure that macroeconomic reform translates into tangible benefits and improvements in the lives of Nigerians.
There is no farmer who have been impacted or whose family has been impacted by the herdsmen or the clashes that would confidently return to the farm to grow their food.
Records show that the poster boy for Nigeria's economic stability is the naira. After the wild swings in 2023 and 2024, the exchange rate hovered at about 1,400 naira to a dollar, a number the government calls market reflective.
We moved off the EU, they call it the high-risk third countries list, which means that without that, the EU companies and institutions will be reticent to do business with Nigeria. We are off of that. And of course, we have had the benefit of improved ratings by the various rating agencies.
But Nigeria doesn't exist in a vacuum, and the dollar still dictates the price of necessities.
Nigeria has voted to have a market-reflective FX regime. The FX stability is more important than just number. Can you predict how Nigeria's FX market will behave?
Data from the National Bureau of Statistics put Nigeria's public debt stock as at Q2 of 2025 at 152.39 trillion naira.
Of that figure, 30 trillion, and I've just referred to transparency and accountability, 30 trillion was outside the books, was brought in. Those were the ways and means that were not they were just ignored before.
By quarter four, the NESG records a jump to an estimated 175 trillion naira. If shared among World Bank's 2024 estimated 232 million people, every Nigerian, including a newborn baby, owes about 750,000 naira.
There is a need for us as a nation to target how we can reduce unemployment, improve people's life by spending more efficiently.
With the government's targeted revenue for 2026 at over 33 trillion naira and an estimated 58 trillion naira expenditure, where would the government cut waste or boost income without straining ordinary Nigerians?
Fiscal reforms, their transparency, their simplification, their reduction in the number of taxes, their removal or protection of vulnerable populations from any form of overtaxation and unauthorized taxes, the closing of leaks in tax collection and the proper application of taxes happens in a seamless way will be the number one biggest policy area in 2026.
For Nigeria's young population, the economy is ultimately judged by one thing: jobs.
Jobs that would lift millions out of poverty must come, given global instances and experiences, from manufacturing and agriculture.
And when we talk about manufacturing or talk about industrialization, a critical component of that would be MSMEs. There are a lot of gaps within the ecosystem that still persist. And sometimes it gets a little repetitive when we talk about access to funding, bridging access to markets, for example. Our report showed that energy was a major constraint for a lot of MSMEs.
Success here will determine whether stability is converted into sustained growth, whether growth delivers productive jobs, and whether poverty is reduced at scale.
The government has projected what the end of 2026 should be for affected Nigerians. Economists warn that 2026 shouldn't be a gallery of beautiful forecasts that never quite make it off paper.
We need some form of strategic, intentional approach, ensuring that MSMEs are at the heart of policy reform, especially in this year of consolidation.
The second key policy imperative for 2026 is the full implementation of the national industrial policy. Number three will be, of course, the fiscal and monetary policy coordination. Number four is trade.
The government needs to focus on this consolidation because the journey is still far.
As 2026 unfolds, Nigeria finds itself at familiar crossroads. While Nigerians like Musa, Emanuela, and Yenime are still waiting for the water to reach their shores, experts warn that if this is truly the year of consolidation, it must be felt in the homes of many, not just in boardrooms of the few. Mercy Frank, Gist Nigeria.
All right, will Nigeria's economic stability reach everyday Nigerians or remain just numbers on a spreadsheet? Let us know on our X handle at Gist Nigeria TV. We'd like to hear from you.